So today's video is going to be a front brake master cylinder change on our YZ250. So the first thing we're going to do is loosen the bolts on the master cylinder. First one we're going to do is the bolt that holds on the brake line, and then we're going to go around to the other side and undo the bolts that hold the master cylinder onto the handlebars. So before we install the master cylinder, we're going to check our master cylinder that we've got and see what brake fluid it requires. So this particular one requires .3 or .4. The higher the dot, the better the performance of the brake fluid, so we're going to use .4 for this one. So to install it, you first just take this bracket off. Loosely fit the master cylinder to the handlebars. Now when you reattach the brake line, you want to make sure that you've got the brake line sandwiched in between these two gold washers. They do have little rubber O-rings on them to help them seal, but it is critical that you have them on either side of the brake line. Now we're ready to fill the reservoir, so you can take these two bolts out and pry open the reservoir cap. Now that we've got that ready, we can go ahead and crack the bleeder valve on the brake caliper, and then attach our bleeder line to the bleeder valve and just in whatever container to drain it into. Then you can go ahead and fill the reservoir up with brake fluid. Now the idea here is to get all of the air bubbles out of the brake line, the master cylinder and the brake caliper. So first off, now that the bleeder valve's cracked, you can just pump it a couple times to get a bit of the air out. But this won't fully get all of the air out of the system. We're just doing this a couple times just because it's a bit easier. So now that the majority of the air is out of the lines, every time you apply pressure to the brake line, you're going to have to crack the valve and then shut the valve and then release pressure and then repeat to get all of the air bubbles out of the system. This can take a little while depending on how much air you have in the brake lines, but it's a relatively easy job that you can do by yourself. You'll know that all of the air is out of the system once you apply pressure to the brake lever and there is a lot of resistance there. Now that you've got pressure in the brake lines, you can go ahead and reinstall the cap on the master cylinder. Tighten up the bolts that hold the master cylinder to the handlebars once you've got it in a comfortable position on the handlebars. Then you can go ahead and remove your line from the bleeder screw, making sure it's tight as well, and then reinstall bleeder screw cap.